we have Pansuman versus Machi. I will just be referring to them as our blue and red players from this point onward. Our blue player has the supply specialist, really good choice here. Not coming in with the most HP, but our red player going with the Rhino spec, and actually has a significantly low roll on the Rhino spec at only 3,900. That is unfortunate, but hey, what are you going to do about it? So both players, this should be a fairly brutal and bloody game coming into this, honestly. Neither player has a ton of HP. I do like this Fang deployment. The Fang being slightly in front of the tanks is great. He needs to be worried about things like these Arc Lights and Stormcallers just completely decimating his Fang line. But at the same time, he doesn't need these Stormcallers going in and hammering his tanks. The tanks need to survive to take care of the crawlers. That way the snipers can deal their business and get rid of the Arc Lights / Stormcallers. Right now our red player seems to be in a pretty dominant position with a bunch of units that just kind of outrange, outgun, and outdamage our blue player. But hey, we'll find out how this goes here in a second. These Fang are unfortunately going to march in against Arc Lights and Stormcallers, and they are just going to get absolutely munched. Do you see how all of these units for our blue player are basically in a straight line, though? That is just phenomenal deployment, and they'll be able to deal with a lot of this just because of the combined arms approach. Tanks taking some Stormcaller shots in the center, but it's not enough to bring them all down. Can the sniper on the left kill these Arc Lights in time for the tanks to boogie? He does. That tank might absorb the damage from these Stormcaller shots, allowing the sniper to live. No. Stormcallers, notorious for overshooting moving targets, actually grabbing up that tank from behind, and that is that. Our red player is dealing significant amount of damage for the early game, but nothing really to write home about at this stage. Around like round 3 is when we really start to see a lot of damage coming out. Let's see what our blue player goes with here. The missile strike would be exceedingly good. Red player grabbing the strike specialist. I like this. He's already on the winning streak, and putting some units in this back line here would be very powerful. Our blue player deploys the missile to take out an Arc Light and a unit of Stormcallers. Definitely worthwhile. Right now there isn't a lot on the field for the blue player that deals with crawlers. Opting to grab a unit of tanks and crawlers of his own. Our red player kind of just sitting around. He's still got 300 bucks. What's he going to do with it? I am not sure. Oh, there it is, a unit of steel balls. Interesting choice here. I do think that that steel ball could be very powerful, as it will come in at a pretty good point here and just adds a layer of disruption. Not only that, a huge HP pool to his units. Small bug here. I've selected the steel balls, and they were just kind of showing up there at random. Ooh, and I do like this sentry. This sentry will most likely kill only a unit of Fang, but oh, that's what I was thinking. It might just clip that sniper. And with the sniper falling on the right-hand side, there really isn't much of a prayer here. But on the left, there isn't Stormcaller support, and there still is a living sniper. That sniper, oh, unfortunately going after the wrong Arc Light and one crawler. That's a lot of wasted damage, but he'll eventually clean this up with the tanks on the left and right-hand sides. Tanks taking a ton of damage from that Stormcaller barrage. Will they be able to come in and clean up the steel ball? Almost certainly not. Tanks just don't have a good cycle of fire. It'll all come down to how quickly the tower falls, most likely in an instant. But as I've mentioned on the channel 100 times, you always want to be the one that has your tower fall first in this situation, because travel time is a thing, and the longer your units are weakened during travel time, the better. These Stormcallers are making great work of the enemy units. Will our red player get some units that shoot up, though? I think blue is missing a serious lack of aerial units, because currently, if memory serves, yeah, there isn't a single unit that shoots up for our red player. Let's see what they're both going to pick up here. I think the tech spec is strong. Blue player agrees. Pansuman. Photon emission here from Mochim, our red player. Mochim finally comes online with his specialist, grabbing this level 2 Rhino. Now, it is not uncommon for this rhino to just be immediately recycled for that huge amount of cash, but honestly, a rhino right now on the sidelines would do a lot of damage. We'll have to see if it works out. Blue has yet to deploy any flying units. There's currently nothing on the field that shoots up. One unit, just one unit of wasps would win this game for him. Or at least this round. Winning the game might be a little extreme. Macham sitting on some cash here. What is our red player going to do with it? Oh, do we see something on the flanks? No. I'm not too sure what he's doing with this money. Just wanted to view it from his perspective. Ah, there it is. Crawlers on the flanks versus enemy crawlers. Well, there's only one way that that can go in this case. And he deploys some crawlers on his own flank. Not a bad play here. I think that's quite a wise choice. And unlocking snipers for a later round. Good idea. If you ever have too much money, or you don't have enough money to get a unit that you particularly want, it's not a bad idea to just unlock something for the future. Having snipers open to you is never a bad thing. See, ooh, that photon coating really doing quite a bit to save our red player here from incoming damage. I'm just going to switch back to Blue's point of view. And this Rhino is absorbing just a ton of shots. There is nothing on the field here that can really deal with this as of yet. The sniper, if it levels, will eventually be able to do a good amount of damage. Ooh, and it gets the kill. That's exactly what he wanted. He's going to need some very strong snipers for our blue player. The sniper's now online, taking out Stormcallers on the right. The snipers do not have a range upgrade, and that will seriously hinder them. Ooh, and the towers both drop at the exact same time. Luckily, these tanks have a good amount of HP, but I don't think it will be enough here for our blue player. As tank falls, that means that his sniper is now online to be the first thing to die. And unfortunately, tanks are notoriously bad at taking out Stormcallers, as they tend to just run around in these weird kind of straight line formations. Blammo go the tanks. A pretty convincing series of wins here for our red player. But these snipers, oh, top supply spec coming out for Mochi. Can our blue player, he's lost 3 rounds in a row, is he willing to take a gamble, or does he just need to get these snipers up and running? Honestly, it may be worth taking the snipers here, and he does take it. I think that's the right choice. There is not a lot of unit entities on this field. I think getting another couple, yes, another couple of level 2 snipers will go a long way. And he does. With the attack damage increase, this is a phenomenal choice in my mind. So he does have these tanks that are able to boogie around now. I do love the zoomies on the tanks. Lots of arc lights to deal with the crawler aggression. And, ooh, 2 units of Phoenix here for our red player as well. I think that's a phenomenal transition. There isn't really a lot of anti-air, and these snipers are really being forced to choose between a ton of very important targets. Does he kill the Rhino? If he kills the Rhino, his front line lives. But that means that the Phoenix are probably going to be online. Very good placement of that turret. It's going to slow everything down, allowing his snipers to really get online in time, and also for the tanks to clear off this chaff. Tanks are coming in on the left-hand side. They were able to survive the initial bombardment. It's a lot of dead rhinos. It's a lot of dead steel balls. Ooh, these snipers. They know what they want, and they want blood. Oh, this is going phenomenally well here for our blue player. Quite the comeback, and those crawlers are going to make a big difference. He definitely needs range on his snipers next, if he wants to continue with this level of sniper aggression. These crawlers are going to win it for him. Honestly, I would think it could go either way without the crawlers, but with them online, he's able to just quickly clear away those Stormcallers. What can happen with crawlers going into Stormcallers is that the Stormcallers will focus on the closest unit to them. Oh, tough choice here. Range specialist for both player, I'd assume. Maybe the Amp Core. Anyways, let's say your crawlers are slightly in range of the Stormcallers. Remember, Stormcallers have this minimum range. So if your crawlers start here, the Stormcrawlers will aggro on the closest crawler to them. But the moment your crawler crosses this threshold, the Stormcrawlers will re-aggro on another unit, resetting their reload time. So let's say your crawlers are in a straight line, the Stormcrawlers aggro on number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. The entire unit is now within range. So now the Stormcrawlers re-aggro on the tanks in the back line. And that can really, really dampen their DPS. Oh, finally! A unit of Wasps here for our blue player. Unfortunately, there is a little bit of anti-air, but not too much. And Wasps do normally do quite well against Phoenix. I really like this. Now he's opting to try and counter the Wasps. These Wasps to counter the Phoenix. What I would honestly do here is maybe put my Wasps on the other side. That way, if the Phoenix somehow end up winning this war, my Wasps can then swoop in after clearing up a side that I'm pretty sure is uncontested and move forward again. What can happen is that your Wasps all get caught up shooting at things that they'll never be able to kill, like a Rhino, and then the Phoenix just pick them off slowly. In this case, that's not going to happen, but just for future reference, that is at play. Ooh, that steel ball just ekes out the sniper's life. Hey, but guess what? These Wasps were able to absorb a ton of Phoenix shots. That means that there's a lot more tanks on the field. And this kind of agglomeration, this hodgepodge of units is finally coming together. That was my AI brain slightly breaking for you. Oh my god. Wow. The scores are literally neck and neck. This is crazy. If a red player, Mechabellum, actually goes with the junior manufacturing specialist, he's not only earning $150 extra a turn, all of his units, besides giants, are also $50 cheaper. That's insane. He will have such an economic boost over the blue player. Blue player might need to pick this up in order to offset that. Now our blue player is already a supply specialist, so that extra 150 isn't really as damaging to him, but boy does it hurt. See the anti-air upgrade on our arc lights. Oh. Okay. So our red player chose to skip. Blue actually going for the junior manufacturing. Alrighty, not bad. And also grabbing the jump drive on these Wasps. A good idea. I don't think he realizes that the anti-air on these arc lights is going to be very punishing if he sends his Wasps all in a big group like this. They might be able to survive due to just having enough of them, but oh my god. These arc lights have suddenly become very dangerous, but also very vulnerable to something that has a ton of HP. Wow, lots of missiles coming out for both players. Here comes the Wasp Brigade. They're going to be quick, but they're going to run into these arc lights. Wow, you can already see this one pointing its nose up. Oof! And look at them just eat through this huge square of Wasps. These Wasps don't stand a chance. Poor little buddies. Just getting cut down to the man. Wow, these arc lights really knew what they were about, and their business was killing. Jeez. There's still some crawlers on the field here, and those crawlers are spelling doom. They're not coming out of the steel balls yet, but once they do, that will be that. Phoenix able to one-shot that marksman. I thought that the marksman would have just enough HP to survive that, but they do not. That tower falling is huge. It might buy him the extra second he needs in order to take out the rest of these Stormcrawlers, and that is that. Another small victory, but is the economy slowly going to be able to overwhelm our blue player? Our red player is continuing to make economic choices. Ooh, nuke for both player would be exceedingly powerful. The senior manufacturing specialist, not so much. Our blue player opts for the super heavy armor. He currently doesn't have any giant units, but he could obviously put them on his tanks. Yes, and that's what he does. These tanks now have 30,000 HP. Stormcrawlers are going to have a really rough time getting through it. Wow. And our red player opting not to grab anything. Instead, I think he's going to go with the super heavy arc light play. He does. Having the elite marksman on them, 23% increased damage per level. All of a sudden, these arc lights are very good answers to the tanks. shielding. I think shields are a very good idea here. There is not a lot of units that do well with the shields. Our blue player opts to have his wasps just kind of do some funny business in the background. Why? Because this will keep them delayed from coming in on the enemy units, and hopefully that delay will be just long enough for these arc lights to be cleaned up, and if the arc lights are cleaned up, then he's good to go. We'll see what happens. Oh, there's another 2 snipers. I think that's a wise decision. Snipers are the answer to this extreme aggression of the arc lights. And they'll chunk through the shield, but not as rapidly as he may have wanted. Ooh, not great. All of the snipers get distracted by chaff on the floor. Here come the wasps. And they are actually in a much better position this time around. Rhino goes down. If these steel balls... Oh, they are spawning crawlers. I was about to say, if these steel balls are spawning crawlers, that's another few seconds that the snipers are distracted. The snipers definitely outrange these arc lights, though, and they're able to clear them all off. And with that, there is absolutely no way for a red player to win the game anymore. These 4 wasps, these hero wasps, are able to survive just a little while longer. And that's that. Quite a bit of damage. Our red player is now definitely in the danger zone. Man, what a swing back and forth. Ooh, portable shield? The nuke. Come on! Orbital bombardment. Show me a nuke. I haven't seen a nuke come down in a tournament in a little while. It's just so expensive. It's very much a gamble. It may not be worth it at this point, but hey, you never know. These tanks could use an upgrade. That's for sure. Massive upgrades coming out on the Stormcallers. And the final upgrade on these arc lights. Man, 4,094 damage a shot. These arc lights are real punishing. There's the nuke for our blue player coming right down the line on the center. I don't know where I would put it, if I'm honest with you. Everything here seems pretty dangerous, so maybe that's the right play. Not a lot of shielding for either player. Our blue player still has $850. I would start spending that. He does, upgrading his marksman. Small shielding coming out here for Mochi. He will be able to protect a ton of his units with this, as long as the snipers don't get online quick enough to knock out those shields. Pantsman, our blue player, is just not worried about the appearance of what could be a nuclear weapon or an orbital bombardment. He knows that the enemy player could be playing it, but he says, hey, I'm ahead enough that even if I lose this round, it's no big deal. Distraction crawlers. The love of my life, the old distracto crawlers. Very important here, drawing away enemy units for such a long time that his snipers are able to get online and deal the damage that they need them to do. Here comes the nuke, and there goes the Stormcallers. Now all he has to worry about are these Phoenix. If those Phoenix go down, then these Wasps automatically win the game. I'd love to see them at level 2, but he doesn't really need them to be at level 2. He just needs them to be alive. And there's more than enough Wasps to make that a reality. 4 Phoenix against just innumerable hordes of Wasps, Fangs, and more importantly, snipers. And I believe this will be GG. Oh my word. What a killing. Oh wow, there was actually an arc light in the background. I did not see you, little arc light. Will he be able to finish off all the wasps? No. Once again, we have the hero wasp. Oh my god. 3 health? It's still all to play for, ladies and gentlemen. It is all to play for. Deployment specialist coming out here for our red player. Does Patsu take the skill? He has 2 very important things coming on. The skill specialist is a risk. Only if he wants that missile. No, goes with the deployment. I think that was probably better. Upgrade all these wasps, homie. You just want them to be in the game for a little while longer. Give them all shields and they'll be there for a lot longer. Oh my, there's a ton of snipers. Our red player going with Fortress? Is he rumbling? He can only grab one with the shield, and this barriers have not really been working out for him too well. Our blue player finally moving the wasps away from the Phoenix. I think that's a great idea here. Man, you have to love these distraction crawlers. A lot of players, once they see that the flank is guarded, won't put any units on the flanks. But look how many units he's turning. And by all of these units turning to have to deal with one unit of crawlers, these snipers are able to get online almost immediately, kill the arc lights, kill storm callers, kill steel balls, and he still has enough chaff killers in the form of these tanks to get rid of all of the chaff that gets spawned. What a phenomenal play. And this is why we watch these advanced tournaments, because we actually pick up a ton from these games. Here's some distraction crawlers of his own, and you know what works really well against distraction crawlers? A simple sentry turret. The distraction was not nearly as powerful, but the re-engagement looks pretty strong here for our red player. Here come the rest of the wasps, and these wasps are flowing in kind of in a weird way with two coming in at different points in time, but hey, good enough. Crawlers are being munched by tanks. Snipers are going to take out all of the Phoenix, and that's going to be GG. My word. There's no way the 3 HP will be enough to get him through this. Our red player played exceedingly well. Blue player, though, I got to give him credit. He had heart. He tried to make it happen. He pushed through, and he did. Phenomenal plays, everybody. Alrighty, and we are back, everybody. Let's take a look-see. It's 3 the Third. We've seen him on the channel before, representing our red player. He's coming in as an elite specialist with some really good choices here for units. Now, I personally hate the elite specialist, but I understand some players really like it. And he's grabbing up a unit of level 2 crawlers. Very good choice here. And we have 3, 7, 3, 4, 7, 6, 3, 8, 2. I will not be saying that many times over, so I'll be calling him fondly, or her, our blue player. Coming in with the heavy armor specialist, a bunch of stormcallers, and a whole bunch of Fang. Really good, really interesting units to start the game with. These tanks are going to be pivotal and taking out all of the Fang quick enough that way our units of marksmen can actually take out these crawlers. What the heck is going on here? I don't often see three marksmen standing so close to each other. They will eventually clear up these crawlers, but not before the rest of them on the right hand side are able to just absolutely demolish those tanks with the support of these stormcallers. And it's good night Irene, as these tanks and snipers are not very happy about being grouped up into the mass amounts of missile fire. And that's that. 3 the Third taking a little bit of damage here, our red player, but nothing to really say he's out of the game. Round 2 opens up, and the enhancement module, a quick pickup here from 3. Why? Well, he's already a elite specialist, so I guess things going up to level 3 is very important for him. What does our numbered player pick up? Our blue player picking up the anti-interface module. I think that's a wise decision. Ooh. And our blue player plays a unit of crawlers in the back line of our red player, 3 the Third. Very interesting choice here. I think this could work out well for him. Unfortunately, these level 2 crawlers will make short work of the level 1 crawlers. And a unit of Phoenix. I think this is a really good choice here by our blue player as well. Why? Because Phoenix are another thing for the snipers to have to deal with. And if the snipers are constantly shooting at crawlers, if they're constantly having to deal with things like stormcaller incoming fire, it's just one more thing that can lead to disaster. Missile comes out, but only gets the left-hand side of the unit here. And these crawlers are able to make contact, but more importantly, they're able to delay a lot of the stormcaller shots in order for these tanks to get online and start taking out just an absolute ton of crawlers, though. Will there be too many crawlers is the next question. Yes, but there's a second wave of crawlers coming in here on the right-hand side. I still don't think it's going to be enough, though, and this will be a massacre as these snipers are each going to get targeted down by the Phoenix. And that's that. The old distraction crawlers. Even though they were sacrificial, it pulled away a unit that could have been used to hold off just the wave assault. We need to see something that deals with the crawlers a little bit better, and these tanks are not it. Maybe an Arclight, possibly a Vulcan. We're getting to the point in the game where we can start to see more giant units come down. Round 3 is really where you can see your first giant pop off, but not normally taken. Woo! Intelligent Marksman is a wonderful card. The Incendiary Bomb, though, yeah, that's what it's all about. Both players have a ton of crawlers on the field. Having the Incendiary Bomb can make a big difference. What does 3/3 pick? We'll find out here in a second. Vulcan actually coming down for our blue player, opting to keep winning this Horde war, and I think that's a wise decision. 3/3, I think, sniffed it out and says, hey, I gotta protect my units here. There could be a ton of firing coming, and he does. Where did that central unit go? Somewhere. Ah! Unit of level 2 Mustangs will be more than enough to deal with these crawlers. So now he has crawlers and Mustang being distracted, though. But luckily both units are quick. These Stormcrawlers could desperately use an upgrade against all of these shields, but he doesn't know about him. And a level 2 sniper coming out here for 3/3 as well, our red player. A very good choice. Again, he has no way of knowing about the Vulcan, but these snipers will be extremely important doing the damage that he needs. Oh! Fire is going to start cooking them. Look how quickly these snipers drop while in the fire. Will this sniper advance out of it? The answer is no. $100, and 3 turns later he'll be able to do it again. And especially if our blue player here opts to pick up some nice oil, that fire can really come in handy. These Mustang don't have a prayer in coming on against this Vulcan. Vulcan just do so much damage to lightly armored units, and they do it so quickly. That's really what's important here. Fire burns, and Vulcans can produce some very hot fire. It's looking like a pretty dominant game here for our blue player, but don't count out 3. Our red player can really pull off some interesting stunts here. Both players grabbing the amp core. Amp core on the Vulcan, yeah, pretty bog standard. A fortress with the amp core, though, that could make the difference. There really isn't a lot of damage here. This fortress has 186,000 HP. If it were to come in on the front line, this Vulcan would almost never be able to kill it. It deals 318 damage per 0.1 second. Somebody do the math there. That's what, 3,000 damage a second? Something like that. It would take a long time for this fortress to die. Unfortunately, the fortress actually absorbing a missile hit means that it's going to be a little too slow, and all of these crawlers are going to come in before it and just get obliterated. The fortress does not protect. Oh no. However, the crawler's dying extremely quickly, and these Mustang are going to be able to move in on the Stormcrawlers. With the fortress here to absorb the damage from the Vulcan, there's nothing to worry about. And a very convincing win here is coming in for 3. Our red player. That's a ton of damage. Well done. Even claiming a shield as a little bit of extra recompense. This fortress is going to be extremely difficult to kill without something along the lines of a melting point or just a couple more flying units. Doesn't matter how healthy you are if you can't hurt me back. Eventually you'll get whittled down. The acid splash could be very strong here for both players. Instead, our blue player opting for the simple missile strike. You know, it can work. Clear off a unit of Mustang. Those Mustang were really annoying. Not a bad choice. 3 ops to skip. Oh, and there's the melting point. We were worried about it. With range. Is 3 worried about it? I would be. That would be my initial impression, is that a melting point is coming out, and then a melting point is going to kill my rather forwardly placed fortress. How do you protect it? A unit of crawlers, potentially? Maybe a unit of Fang? The reason I mentioned that Fang in front of Fortress is that they move at the same speed, but also Fortress can get the ability to spawn Fang. Most players don't opt for it. I personally don't either, just because Fang, unless heavily upgraded, are not very good units. But it can make a big difference against something like this Melting Point. So, just little things to worry about. In comes the missile on the right-hand side, and down go all of the Mustang. Now this laser is going to just chunk through. Ooh, but he didn't quite have range to immediately get online against the Fortress. And that means that, unfortunately, it just took a couple of extra seconds for that Melting Point to do the job that it needed to do. But now that it is online, there's no stopping it. And that Fortress melts quicker than a bowl of ice cream in a midday sun in Florida. I don't know where that analogy came from. I just made it up. The Vulcan, able to withstand just a ton of fire. Unfortunately, now it's shooting at the wrong target, and these snipers will eventually be able to clean it up. These snipers are in desperate need of an upgrade. And they'll probably get it after this round, knowing now that he needs to deal with this super, super tough Melting Point. Down go the Phoenix. There's not enough DPS here to deal with this Melting Point, though. And that's that. Melting Points are very good if they're shooting the right thing. And in this case, this Melting Point didn't really have to worry about its options too much. Electromagnetic Blast coming out for our blue player, Impact even. A very, very good card. Just dealing a ton of damage to shields. There's a lot of shields on the floor right now. It's a good idea to get rid of those. There really is just not a lot of units here for our blue player. He's very concentrated in just a few units. Now those units could easily be overwhelmed by a quick transition to the air, or if these snipers become level 2, level 3, level 5, that's your sweet spot. He's got to think about protecting these Fortress. If he can protect the Fortress, this Vulcan is basically useless. And a ton of damage is tied up in this one unit of Stormcallers and this one Vulcan. Those are the only two dangerous units on the field if these Melting Points drop. So what drops the Melting Points? Well, your Fortress can, but more importantly, you need snipers and you need to protect your Fortress. There's the Crawlers. And another Fortress. Wow. Okay. Upgrade these snipers, maybe? That may be important. Oil comes down for our blue player, and that's going to burn off a ton of units. There's the extra Crawlers. I think these Crawlers might be a little ahead of their time, though. Ooh. Oh, that's unfortunate. Gets sniffed out. There's a ton of missiles here. Alright, well, he tried. Next turn, these Crawlers will be absolutely killers. Oh no. And this Fortress is just going to die so quickly. Look at it just get absolutely chunked down. It didn't stand a chance. Did not stand a chance. That's unfortunate. And there's nothing here to support this Fortress again. It's just going to die so quickly. Yeah, without support, Fortresses don't do very well. If you haven't seen my tier list video, go check it out. But that's why I put them near the bottom of the tier. Just because they're slow, they don't often have the greatest DPS, and they get countered exceedingly easily without support. They're not a giant that can stand on their own. These snipers desperately needed an upgrade, and they did not get it. And that's going to potentially kick 3/3 out of this tournament. Oh, just a little bit more HP. Can he make a comeback? Range spec for both players. Very important. He needs something right in front of these Fortress if they're going to survive. He just needs a unit of Fang. Right here and right here. Make a big difference. Or, heck, grabbing the fire for himself would have been good. Or the oil, just to slow down these units a little bit. If he can slow down the Crawlers coming in, or deal with the Crawlers a little bit quicker, he's going to be in a much better position. A second Vulcan coming down. Okay. Not a bad choice. This fire being used to neuter the Mustangs on the right-hand side once again. Crawlers are going to be absolutely destroyed by a sentry turret. It's a little bit of money invested over time. Fortress finally getting away from these fortress. I think that's the right play. If you can't protect your fortress, get rid of the fortress. All of these marksmen are in just the weirdest little line, though. I think it's great. It means that you can protect them very easily. But it also means that any unit that does AoE to them is just going to kill all of your marksmen at once. Both fortress drop so quickly. They're basically obsolete at this point. If you don't support them with something, they're just going to die. And these melting points are earning a ton of experience. That's not great. The Vulcan will drop. And these marksmen have a ton of range. Able to pick off all of the units that they need to. Question is, will they be able to chunk through these arc lights? It's looking pretty okay. It's not going to be enough. And this is why you got to be a little nervous about all of your marksmen standing straight and tall together, because something like a Stormcaller, although their accuracy is garbage, would just eat through all of those marksmen. Hey, good plays here by both players. Congratulations to the winner and condolences to the loser. Let's move on to the next round. Dachshund is a returning player in red versus Biotong in the bottom blue. I'm not sure if what I just did was offensive, so I will be referring to both players as either red or blue. Dachshund actually ended up scoring 4th place in the European Advanced Group Tournament. He's done an exceedingly good job in many of these tournaments. I'd love to see him place again. Opting for a couple of snipers here for our blue player. Very wise decision, and it looks like our red player going with the elite specialist. A good choice, not my favorite choice, and in this case it really limits him on the number of units that he can play. He needs some crawlers in order to absorb sniper fire, but it looks kind of rough here. It really comes down to how quickly these Phoenix can get online, but even though these crawlers are level 2, they still only have 522 health. They'll be able to take a couple of shots from these arc lights, but that's it. And I like this. He's centering his Phoenix around the crawlers. Those crawlers are his lifeline here for our red player. Without them, he's alone and afraid. Opting for, I guess, a defensive headbutt? I guess castling? Yeah, I'm going to form a new term. I'm going to call this castling from now on. Protecting extremely important units around a tower is now deemed castling, and I do like this. He has good protection against horde units, he has good single point damage, and he has some chaff in order to absorb damage, and he's not really too worried about this other side just because the likelihood of there being fast units to come in and deal with that at this point is very low. This arc light's caught out, and if it dies, these Phoenix are going to be right online for the sniper. Oof! And there goes the entirety of this right-hand flank. There's nothing to stop these Phoenix anymore. Or sorry, left-hand for our blue player. That's it. It's all going to come down to this one sniper. Can the sniper claim the tower in time? Almost certainly not. And I know I've said it's very important for your tower to fall second. Let's see if that holds true here. Ooh, sniper's going to get it. And this might just be enough. I don't know if the sniper's going to be able to turn and take out these Phoenix in time, though. Oh, definitely not. Great use of the castling strategy. A fully new and made-up way of playing the game. It's going to cost Dox in the first round. Of course, these units are now stuck around this castle. It means he's going to be in a little bit more of a tight spot. Let's see what both players go for. Wow, a level 2 Rhino coming out here for our red player. That is a phenomenal choice. How does blue counter this? Crawlers, yeah. Kind of fill the field. These arc lights are dangerous, but not too dangerous. And arc lights can eventually be swarmed by crawlers. It does take an awful lot of them, though. Wow. And a unit... Oh, no. Is he placing it somewhere else? Where's he going with that? I don't know. There was some crawlers on the flank there for a second here for our red player. I don't know what he's done with them, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. I think leveling up... Oh, nope, they're back. I was going to say, I think leveling the sniper is also probably worthwhile for our blue player, just because that will allow him to one-shot any upgraded Phoenix. Where's he putting this last little crawler? Honestly, having that crawler in the back line for our blue player as well, the back line of the red player, would just distract these Phoenix and potentially these crawlers as well. And without this crawler support, all of a sudden these snipers are in a much better position. Ooh, drawing away 4 units for the price of 1. Very, very good. All of these tanks have no support now. And without the support, they're never going to be able to take down this Rhino. And they're just going to be absolutely munched by the Phoenix in the sky. Without upgrading this Rhino as well, he has to duel with the Arclight. If that marksman was upgraded, he would have one-shot that Arclight, and he'd already be on the tower. Instead, that delay may cost him a little bit more than he would like. Tower drops. Rhino did not push through, and now the Phoenix are on the chopping block. If these Phoenix get caught up shooting at crawlers, he's going to be in a bad place. Again, if this marksman was upgraded, this Rhino would already be dead. He had no way of knowing that a level 2 Rhino was coming on its way. Ooh, will the crawlers be enough? They are. Either that, no, definitely was the crawlers. Somebody came in and just jabbed that Rhino right in the knee. God, that'd be horrible. Imagine a tiny little robot with a drill for a face just running up and drilling you in the knee. Jesus, dark days. Red player opting for the improved steel ball. I mean, that's a hefty cost for a steel ball at this point. 350 for a single unit. But hey, it's a huge HP sink now. 11,000 HP. These snipers really need an upgrade if he hopes to continue and take care of the damage here. These crawlers on the back line are okay. There is an Arclight here that will just catch it immediately. Interesting choices. Does Doxson choose to upgrade his snipers? Opting instead just to purchase a sniper. Well, I guess he can upgrade these two. Does he go for it? We'll find out. Our red player spent his cash. It was all on these level 3 steel balls and a unit of crawlers. He does not have a lot of flexibility here. Our blue player still has $100. Upgrade me a marksman or two. Yes, baby. Oh, he could hear it. I was sending him those powerful waves. If you guys ever notice, sometimes I'm checking these things just to see if somebody else is streaming. I do not stream the tournaments anymore just because I am very wary of cheating. Luckily, this game has a pretty good spectator system where I'm always a minute and a half behind, but just want to be safe, you know? I'm not calling anybody a cheater, just something I wanted to make sure that people were aware of. Good damage coming out, and this Rhino is kind of in a bad spot again. This level 2 marksman is going to be able to clean it up, and wow, there is a ton of crawlers left on the field here for both players. Whoever wins that will be in a better position, and it looks like it's going to go in the way of Doxson, our blue player. There's units marching down the field towards the tower. Will they get it in time? If that tower is taken, he's going to be in a very good spot. Little crawlers are not going to be able to decimate that tower fast enough. Is the travel time just long enough? These Phoenix can really boogie. 3, 2, 1. Crawlers are back online. Oh, and they just get it. But it's not enough. This sniper is opening fire a little earlier. He will be able to ping down these Phoenix. Wow, and the Phoenix just one-shots the sniper. That's that. Again, the tower falling second was more important. Man, that's gotta hurt. It is unfortunate, but as these snipers continue to gain XP, they will eventually be able to both absorb shots from the Phoenix and continue to one-shot them without much issue. The game is still very close. I don't want anybody to think that the game is not close. It is very close at this point. Heavy armor coming out for our red player. 100% extra HP. I can see that quickly going on to the Rhino. Blue player opting for the electromagnetic blast. The electromagnetic blast is so powerful because it just allows you to slow down units. And in this case, Doxin has a ton of units that he can upgrade. Doxin being our blue player, I think that is probably a very good choice at this point. Just because he's currently out-leveled massively. But if he can start bringing these tanks online, if he can start bringing these snipers up just a little bit more, he's going to be in a good spot. Opting for another sniper. I love this. And another one. Yes. Just have enough snipers to deal with these units that have just so much HP, and he'll be in a very good spot. Upgrading the tanks, a good choice. These tanks are his front line, and he needs them to be able to absorb a shot or two. Right now, they currently won't. If these Phoenix come in, ooh, 7189, 7632. Oh my God. These sledgehammers will be able to absorb one shot from the Phoenix. Hey, but that makes a big difference. Phoenix do have a little bit longer of a reload time in the most recent patch. And the movement speed increase. Okay. It's making sure that his units can boogie. Here's the electromagnetic. Everything is slowed. No tech on these units either. Will it be enough? The re-engagement's coming in. Honestly, that speed upgrade, although good, means that his units were able, or Doxin's units kind of engaged in the middle of the field without a huge amount of support, and that's a ton of dead crawlers. I don't know if that speed really helped him in this case. He is on the enemy tower much, much quicker though, but there's still a ton of crawlers left on the field because his units raced forward and got swarmed. We'll find out in a moment. It looks like it will definitely go in the way of our blue player Doxin though. Having just too many crawlers, these Phoenix are all going to get bogged down and taken out. A good amount of damage, more than evening this up. I think that they both traded every round who wins. Very gentlemanly. I could be wrong, but in my mind that's canon. No. I was going to see if Doxin chose to get the subsidized marksman. Or sorry, the subsidized crawlers, just because he has 3 crawlers that could really use an upgrade, instead opting for the level 3 Mustangs. Not a bad choice. These level 3 Mustang do put out a significant amount of damage, and not only that, the steel ball crawler is a very common upgrade pattern, so having these Mustang here just to clear up any shenanigans like so is very important. I'd still love to see these marksmen keep getting upgrades. If he can just keep bringing them further and further ahead, a level 5 marksman just deals so much damage. He'll come online and be easily able to take out this Rhino in just a moment, but the enemy Rhino is able to engage these tanks basically unmolested. Oh, it's not looking great. The battle for the tower. The right side goes very much in the way of Doxin. Ooh, and the tower just gets crippled. For once, the Rhino decides that he's had enough of these games and just goes in. Those crawlers are really paying for themselves to the point at which, you know, it may be worth just deploying a sentry on this flank. You're losing a lot of time and units because of the lack of ability to kind of just push forward. Finally, this crawler aggression will be cleaned up, and these Mustang will come in a lot of handy. Just because they have that range upgrade, they should go on to the Phoenix first. They do, chewing through them very rapidly. They won't be able to win this, but they will be able to do a significant amount of damage to the enemy team, which hopefully is enough to cut down on the damage that our blue player Doxin will take at the end of this turn. But man, those distraction units on the flanks are just absolutely crippling our blue player right now. He's pulling like 7 units. Do we see a nuke? 70,000 damage is a lot of damage. These marksmen just are in desperate need of a range increase. Or hey, the electromagnetic shock. How does that work? Yeah, they're immune to the electromagnetic. meaning that the electromagnetic shot from these snipers would just be ignored. And the super heavy rhino is going to come in here and deal the business again. It may be time for melting points. Oh, interesting. Some Fang. You know, Fang are actually fairly durable. It's not something that you see. Oh, wow. We often don't see this drilling impact drill either. 200% increased damage on the crawlers. It's one of my favorite upgrades. But you don't really see it very much in tournaments. Why does he grab it? Just because when these level 1 crawlers spawn, then being able to do just a little bit more damage is pretty significant. Finally, a buffer for these tanks. These tanks are not going to get the support that they need early. We have a lot of units crying out for an upgrade again. Our red players' units are level 3, level 2. That's going to be tough. Here comes the photon coating, and it is going to hit the most important units on the field here. Will he ever be able to kill this rhino? I guess so, eventually. Snipers just need an upgrade. This right flank is just being wasted currently. Ooh, but they're re-engaging down the center. Not something that we see, not something that has happened in this game yet. And the rhino gets mixed up once again, pulled away to the wrong side. The sniper's in a good spot to defend the tower. He just needs to stop shooting crawlers. Sniper doesn't stop shooting crawlers, and that costs him this game. This round, I should say. That's rough. That is very rough. If this rhinos were to get the final blitz, that would be it for Dachshund. Right now, the rhino is traveling in a pack with the rest of its units, so I can understand why the rhino does not have the final blitz. But if it did, if there was another rhino right here with final blitz, and this rhino here, this flank is just completely toast. The snipers are not upgraded enough to deal with this currently. Give them the elite marksman. Just that extra damage, man. These marksmen need the damage. Just to ping off a steel ball immediately. If your marksman one-shot a steel ball, the crawlers can be dealt with by tanks, other crawlers, whatever it is that you need. But this is a good choice, actually. This melting point on the left side deals with both rhino aggressions, and will deal with steel balls fairly well. Not only that, the electromagnetic barrage is very good at stopping steel balls from spawning units. I often swap out the energy diffusion for the crawler spawn as well, just because crawlers are so popular that I can normally upgrade my crawlers pretty confidently once or twice, and then grab them a tech upgrade, maybe mechanical rage or replicate. And then if my crawler, or my melting point, is spawning several crawlers every few seconds, I might get an extra unit or two of crawlers. Normally pretty worth it. Here comes the second, or the third rhino. With the wreckage recycling, very powerful. Unfortunately, the rhino on the left dies exceedingly quickly compared to its normal compatriots. Ooh, and there's that, oh my god. Having paid attention to these engagements, that sentry missile is right on point, dealing tons of damage. There's going to be a huge swell of units down the center. And on the right, unfortunately, the right-hand side lost a ton of its units to just chaff. Oh no. Oh no, indeed. Will this rhino be able to march back in time and protect his friendly units? I think so. The melting point's going to come in. It's in the smoke, though. All of these units are in the smoke, but hey, Rhino doesn't care. He's a melee unit. The melting point's on the Rhino. It's gonna get it, but that's just gonna save him points at this point. Oof. That's a good amount of damage. And this smoke will stay. Oh, intensive training. It's got to be intensive training. Or the ion. But intensive training is extremely important for both players. Ion blast coming out here for our red player. He could pop that right across. I was going to say he could pop it right across the center right here and kill off all of these snipers. There's a barrier here already. I'm not sure if that's the right choice. And laser sights coming out for Doxson. I was thinking he might opt to upgrade the melting point, put the intensive training on it, and then upgrade it again. Instead, no. Hey. Okay, and energy diffraction coming out here for the melting points as well. Interesting choice. I guess he's just trying to help get rid of crawlers with them. The snipers aren't really up to the task currently of taking out all of these units. And there aren't really enough arc lights on the field or Vulcan. Heck, a good Vulcan in the back line would really help here. But we'll find out. Or even getting these Mustang to have the splash damage. He can't get the splash damage. Doesn't have a lot of great answers to these crawlers. His own crawlers are very weak in comparison. Very, very weak. I guess that's why he has this melting point with the energy diffraction. Okay. I'd love to see the missile placed here again just to take out a ton more units. Instead, all he'll grab for his troubles are a unit of Fang. Not really worth it in this case. Oh my god. Melting so many snipers with that. The energy diffraction is pretty good though. Able to clear away a ton of units. Ooh, me oh my. This isn't looking half bad here for Doxson. It's not great, but it's not half bad. He still just doesn't have enough potatoes to deal with all of these crawlers. I think he's in a real rough spot for Doxson. That's unfortunate, man. This can feel so hard to come back from. It can feel so hard as these steel balls just suddenly have so much HP. And then they're spawning more crawlers, and it's like, oh my god, they melt through my chaff killers, and then when they die, they produce chaff. What do you want me to do about it? Super aggressive Vulcan, having some flames pop down on them, all of these things can really help. The oil coming out here for our red player. Pop it right down the center. Ooh, there's the Vulcan. 2 Vulcan, yes, get the incendiary bombs. You need them. You need incendiary bombs. He doesn't have enough cash. Oh, that's rough. That's really rough. Maybe... Well, he can at least delay all these units in the center. Maybe not. Maybe not. Our red players are really dropping down a ton of shields here. What does blue do to answer? He doesn't have much. Where did that extra Vulcan go? He had 2. Ah, right on the flank here to take care of these crawlers. It has to be played on the flank, unfortunately. A lot of units crying out for upgrades. It's just not happening. 8 units versus 7. That is not the usual. It's very rare that we see 6, maybe 7 units, but 8 is somewhat uncommon. That sentry missile taking out those Fang is really important. Down, oh my god, the whirly-durlies on the rhinos just clearing away tons of crawlers. There goes the majority of the backline. The flames are trying to do their business, but they're definitely not going to be enough here. And these crawlers are going to swarm in, but more importantly, there's a level 3 Phoenix. Look at it just chunk away at these units. That's going to be that. There's no re-engagement going to be able, or the re-engagement is definitely not going to go in the way of Doxson. Man, never able to really take care of these Rhino in a meaningful way. It's a very good play here by our red player. Very, very good play. Doxson definitely put up a real fight, though. The fact that this lasted to round 9 shows the caliber of that player. Phenomenal game. Unfortunately, that's that. Goodbye, Irene. Let. Ooh, semifinals. or final match coming up now? We will find out in a minute and a half. As we go into what is potentially our final match, if you like these types of things, please like and subscribe for more Mechabellum content. Our finalists being God Bless. Interesting. Our blue player going with the Giant spec, Arclight Steel Ball. Really good choice here. Giants are not something that we see too often, but they always make an appearance. Stetfro, our red player, going with the aerial specialist. Now I wanted to go back to what I just said about the Giants. The Giants normally don't take the game, but they are a very useful thing in every single game. What I mean by that is we'll see one or two Giants played out to help deal with, Vulcan to deal with chaff, or an Overlord to capitalize on a lack of ranged aerial capabilities. But normally we don't see mass Giants being the thing that wins a game, and I really like the current meta right now where that is the case. Giants fill an important role, but they're definitely not the thing that generally wins the game. Tons of Stormcallers here. These Stormcallers are going to be in a pretty rough spot initially. There isn't really any good targets for them besides maybe these Arclight, but if your Stormcallers' only purpose is to kill Arclights, they don't serve much of a purpose. Okay. Hey, unlock them and use them. They don't cost you any money and they're slightly upgraded. I do like this from our blue player. Grabbing these wasps means that he automatically wins this round. There's nothing else to be said. There's nothing that can shoot up. He wins hands down. Oh, and these wasps can move. I love the jump drive. Oh wow. And having elite marksman on the wasps. You know what? These wasps can suddenly become very deadly with extra anti-ground, elite marksman, and shield. All of a sudden, you can have some really deadly wasps. The investment to have it is very high. But hey, if you choose to go down that wasp life, they can become very dangerous. Let's get a nice cinematic view of the engagement. We already know that our blue player must win this game, but let's just see how things kind of roll out here. The Stormcaller's actually landing a few shots on the back line of these crawlers. That will be important as the game continues to roll on, just because it means that there's slightly less crawlers in each engagement than there normally would be. Arclights will drop to these Stormcallers, most likely. There we go. And one more, please. Just so, sir. So we know that the Stormcallers are enough to deal with quite a bit of these units, even without the Wasp support. Now, that's important to note. If these Stormcallers were to be spitting fire, or maybe have an anti-tech upgrade, we know that they're landing normally at least one of their barrages. And that will be game. Do the Wasps earn an upgrade? Yes. No. No, I don't think they do. That is unfortunate. The shield device spec is a very good specialist just to always have, but I can see the skip for all of these players. Haste module is also extremely powerful. Nope, skip from both players. And tanks coming out here for our blue player. Now there are already quite a bit of steel ball on the floor, but I think he's deploying these tanks to help get rid of the incoming Mustang. This is quite a good gamer sense because the more Mustang, or the more aerial units you have on the field, the more likely there are to be Mustang coming out to counter it. What deals with that very well are these tanks. However, it is currently very commonplace in the meta to place your Mustang right behind your steel balls, and he even left space for another unit, potentially some crawlers. Steel balls come in, they have a huge amount of HP, they soak a bunch of damage. When they die, they can potentially spawn more crawlers. And then your Mustang, which are ranged units, are able to pick off the things that normally deal with steel balls very well, like a bunch of crawlers. So, very good deployment, and these Mustang are absolutely going to chew through the Wasps. The Wasps don't really stand much of a chance. That's that. The tanks on the left, though, able to hold for quite a while, and these Stormcallers could land some pretty devastating shots. In fact, they do, kind of. Yeah, actually, perfect shots. killing off all of the Mustang, and then dealing with the Arclight. Wow. That's not something you see too often, folks. I know I've coined the term drunk stormcallers, but man, those guys, it's a coin flip. Deployment specialist coming out here for our red player. Strike spec? I don't think so. Redeployment's pretty good. Just always being able to move around your units. But in my case, I always viewed the deployment specialist as probably one of the most powerful cards in the game. What do we see here? Some extra crawlers. I think that's a wise decision. There are a few units of chaff killing on the floor currently. What is our blue player looking to do? He's kind of sitting for, what, about 60 seconds now? That's a lot of time to be thinking about your next move. But hey, take it slow. This is most likely the final. And opting for the deployment specialist. A good choice. I don't know. Maybe get some more tanks, or lean a little bit more into your aerial specialist. You could grab an overlord. It would definitely signal the arms race of air versus anti-air, but hey, having an overlord's normally a very good option, especially with the photon coating. It just gives value over time. Oh, and our red player actually opted for some Stormcallers of his own. And this will work out very well against the slow-moving army of the blue. Here comes the engagement, and these Stormcallers will actually be extremely crucial in clearing away tanks. And once the tanks fall, there's really nothing to deal with the chaff. These crawlers will be able to get in very quickly. Whoa, unless these Stormcallers keep just taking souls. Jeez, look at that. Those are some phenomenal shots coming out on both sides. Even spreading those shots to not only damage the arc lights, but also killing off some extra crawlers. And they've got each other's backs. Will it protect his friend? Yeah, he did get the crawler. That's super important, actually. You might think that that one crawler isn't really worth a full barrage of Stormcaller shots, but it is. Because that one crawler would have been turning around right now and aggroing on these Stormcallers. Wow. Our blue player will almost certainly tie this up for another round win. It could. Nah, with those. Wow. Wow. I was going to say, with these Stormcallers here, it will probably take 2 barrages, but it'll get it. No. Our blue player has paid off the Mafia and, I don't know, gin and vodka, because his Stormcallers are always hitting on point. This is phenomenal. What does he go with, though? Our red player instantly grabbing the smoke bomb. I would like to see the intensive training, but I can also make a very good argument for this amplifying core. If these tanks continue to grow in levels, eventually they will outpace Stormcaller damage. Yes, and he does grab the amp core. Lots of shielding. Okay, I think he's worried about the smoke. I think both players should be worried about the smoke. Oh, there it is. Double Overlord, baby. And there's the amp core. Okay. Ooh, now there's Phoenix on the field, though. What deals really well with Overlords? The answer's Phoenix. These Overlords cannot reposition, but they do have the photon emission. The photon emission would be really important to keeping a lot of these units on the field in the long term. Now, a unit had to be recycled in order to make this play happen, but I think it was definitely worth it. The Overlords do have access to Mothership as well, so these Wasps, the Wasps are the thing to get upgraded, or to be recycled. Well, if he wants them back in order to get the shields, that way the Wasps that spawn out of the Overlords have shields, he's going to have to wait a little while. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Smoke comes down, and all of a sudden all of these units are neutered in the center. Missile does nothing. Flat nothing. Oh, but you know what else is really important about these Overlords? They hit hard. That means they're going to be cleaning up steel balls really quickly. And these Mustang are now going to have to deal with the tank overlords. Yeah, overlords are going to win this very convincingly. Except on the right, getting absolutely decimated. Does this overlord shoot down the Phoenix? It does. That's his one prayer. These Phoenix are going to earn themselves a level, though. And as the Phoenix continue to upgrade, all of a sudden these overlord are becoming a little bit less and less safe of an option. That's the problem with giant units, is that they can often be outpaced by smaller units. Ugh, the Phoenix are going to take the tower. The tower. And the travel time is not very short here. Oh, this overlord needs to fire again. It does not. I mean, it does, but it doesn't fire quick enough. The rate of fire on overlords is not very high. And that, although they hit like absolute trucks, they just don't shoot very often. Let's see here. Vulcan could be good. Nano repair could be very good for our overlord playing blue player. The deployment module is okay. Oh wow! And our red player grabbing the deployment module. Where's he gonna put it? Who's got the juice? More Stormcallers, good. Deal with these tanks. These tanks are not upgrading. Ooh, and the fire on the Stormcallers. Okay, but who's got the boogie? He hasn't put it on either player. Our blue player is still looking at these 4 cards, making a decision. I don't know. Yeah, he goes with the nano. It's almost certainly going to go on. Yeah, right on the overlord. He has a bit of cash, so he upgrades his tanks. Very much worthwhile. If the overlords get the photon emission, I think he's going to be in a much safer spot. He has the money for it. So for those who don't know, the photon emission comes down. Everything within 100 meters, so roughly, say, about this area here, gets the emission. It could be a little bit further out, actually. Gets the emission, and that means that they are immune to 55 or to 50% of the damage. It used to be 55. Saw a small nerf in one of the most recent patches. More Stormcallers, though. It's quickly becoming a war of attrition. I think the real game changer here are these Phoenix. There is not a lot of anti-air besides the overlords. And if overlords are being used to shoot down Phoenix, you know you're not in a great position, as the Phoenix will eventually just out DPS the overlords. Not only that, overlords do also have a very long rate of fire. It takes them forever to actually shoot. However, they do have small splash damage. So it could be that these overlords kill, yeah, one shot killing both Phoenix. And in it goes. It's a lot of dead Phoenix. There's no longer a way for our red player to win the game. And each overlord counts for 400 damage in between rounds. That's 800 damage. You win 4 rounds, you win the game. Bam, bam. Oof. Can red pivot in order to just deal with these nasty overlords? Nuke coming out from red. Well, I mean, that's a good pivot. Does our blue player take the range specialist and the nuke, or a barrier? We'll find out in a moment. Nuke coming down in the center line and a ton of Phoenix with range. I think this is a great play. I mean, honestly, the only units that shoot up are these overlords, and it's a lot of HP in one spot. If something happens to them, that's it. Wow, nukes coming down for both players. Overlord's getting an upgrade. Very important, going up to 53,000 HP. These Phoenix only do 6,000 damage a shot. He needs one more shield. Unfortunately, when there's this many Stormcallers on the field, the nuke becomes much more relevant, just because the nuke will be completely negated by a shield. Anything, even if the shield only has 1 HP, if the nuke comes down, your units on the interior are safe. However, Stormcallers melt through shields very quickly, so the likelihood of these shields lasting long enough for there to be long enough for them to absorb the nuclear fire is very low. Very, very low. But hey, we'll find out what happens next. Some upgrading on the Stormcallers. I think that's a great idea just because he needs these things to deal with stuff like the steel balls. Hidden Dragon flanking crawler is going to completely delay the right side of these engagements. I'm not sure if that's good or bad though. By delaying the engagement, all of a sudden this nuke can land on these units that were pulled out of position behind the shield. The opposite nuke on the left-hand side, just crushing the flank. Overlord's dead. There's really nothing to deal with all of these Phoenix, unless by some miracle, all of these Phoenix decide to shoot at one unit of Fang. This game is definitely, or this round is definitely going to go in the way of our red player. The Overlord does have an obscene amount of range though, but not that much range, and more importantly, not the highest rate of fire. Look how much damage it's able to take though. Pop, pop, pop. If it had just a couple of wasps to support it, that Overlord would have easily have killed all of those Phoenix. But without anything else that shoots up, heck, even just a unit of Fang, those Phoenix would all be toast. Instead, those Phoenix earn themselves a level and a victory. Senior attack specialist coming out for our red player. I could make an argument for the attack specialist or the tech spec. Heck, even the photon's okay. And I'm just a sucker for the missile, but for me it really comes between the tech spec and the senior's attack spec. We shall see. Missile, hooray! Oh, I love a good missile. Pop it right here. Every couple of rounds you earn yourself some kills. Very useful. You have wasps. Play wasps. What deals with Phoenix pretty well? Wasps. They're not perfect answers, mind you. They're temporary. They're solutions to a pretty interesting problem. Wasps, in my mind, are the way to play. Forgive me if the casting is a little bit different than usual. It is a little bit past midnight now, my time. The North American tournaments happen in the middle of the night. Interesting. Ah, finally! Finally, wasps. Finally, shields. Oh, thank the Lord. They've been begging for it for a long time. These overlords can't upgrade to get these wasps out unless he's willing to burn the midnight oil. He is. 500 bucks. Oh, instead just grabbing another unit of wasps. Okay. Heck, do it. These sentries go out. They will decimate both of these crawlers, which is exactly what he needs. Having all of these units delayed just really cost him the flank. And there we are. Everybody's kind of re-engaging together. Kind of. That missile really did delay things. Man, these Stormcallers. Just landing some absolutely beautiful shots. And although there's a ton of fire in the center, the Mustang are kind of walking into their own fire and dying. Lots of Fang are still alive too. That fire landing behind the Fang won't really deal that much damage to the tanks. These Wasps are unfortunately pretty heavily outgunned by the level 3 Phoenix, but the Overlord stands proud, and he's able to soak up a ton of damage on these Wasps. Remember, a Wasp only has 282 HP when it comes in. But if it gets shot by 10,000 damage, the maximum damage it can take is 282. So, very, very good way to play. $1,300. Opting for the extended range on his Phoenix, a very good choice. I guess it's between the acid. Yeah, I was going to say everything else is kind of useless. Mass tank, just to round it off with something weird. No, instead going with the giant death robots. I like this. Anti-air barrage as well. The anti-air barrage will do fairly well against these wasps. So the barrage does have quite a bit of splash, which it doesn't mention, but also can just completely whiff. If there's one unit of wasps that are very close, it can all be fired at that one unit of wasps, and the overlords just chuckle all the way home. I'd love to see these overlords get another upgrade. Up to level 3 and having these wasps being produced would be exceedingly good, just because it gives your overlords that little bit of longer longevity. Say longer longevity 10 times fast. I'm sure somebody will. And then they'll tell me in the comments why I'm dumb for not being able to say that 10 times fast. But hey, it is what it is. More Stormcallers, and they're just going to stand in the smoke. Oh, thank God. He protects them. He protects them very well. That's exactly what you want to see. The longer, or these shields are exactly what you want to see. It will protect them from the smoke, but also Overlords Stormcallers just really need protection. And if your shields don't die, then they're very well spent money. All of the units that ran through the acid suffer a huge amount of damage. Unfortunately, these fortresses on the right are not within the acid, but still eventually dropping. Level 3 Overlord with the Nano Repair Kit. It does not spawn wasps, though. Oof. But it also just doesn't seem to want to die, eventually going down. Not before taking a couple of Phoenix with it. And now we have our Overlord on the right side, 80,000 HP versus the 6,000 damage that a wasp or a Phoenix will do to it. Pretty sure this Overlord's got it in the bag. It is just like the behemoth that cannot die. The God Beast. Oh my God. Look how little that HP moved. There's a tick, maybe 2. That is just so unfortunate. Super heavy armor would be very important here. Can Goebbels, or God bless, pull it all back? Mobilized battleship here for our blue player. Makes sense. I mean, he already has 2 of them with a range increase. Range of 160. It's basically a sniper at this point. I'd love to see it with the old Miyamoto or the Overlord artillery, just so that something on the ground is always being targeted. But hey, the photon emission would also do exceedingly well here. Dance of the Crawlers. These crawlers are just here to draw Stormcaller shots and then die, which is not a bad option. You know, although you're throwing away 100 points a turn, just remember it costs you nothing to unlock them. But if these crawlers are able to dance around, yes, they'll die at the end, almost certainly. But if they're able to dance around and draw off all the Stormcaller fire, maybe 1, 2, 3 barrages, that's enough for the other units like his own Stormcallers and, more importantly, tanks to close the distance and get rid of chaff. $100 has to be wasted every single turn to get rid of these very cheeky crawlers. Man, that would be very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. But it has to be done, or else your units just take way too long to engage. Uh, 10 seconds. Looks like an extra shield. Okay. Let's see the engagement. Oh my God. This poor Fang. Always getting just nuked down. We've seen it across multiple games. These Fang just don't live their best lives. The acid dealing a good amount of damage to all of the units. Oh, and this fortress is just going to slightly kiss the acid. That will spell his doom. There's a lot of fortresses here, and they're putting down a ton of damage. I don't know if these overlords will be enough. Ooh, but they're spawning them. They're spawning wasps. That's very important. Those wasps will absorb so much damage for the overlords. Each overlord shot killing 1 to 3 Phoenix at a time. Oh, the tower drops. The overlord's healing through the damage. It's not a huge amount of damage. There goes the second tower, and that's GG. We will find out very momentarily whether or not our good old blue player Stefano, or Stefaro, is the winner of our tournament overall. Good plays by everybody. Let's see what's cooking up next. Well, that was it. Our top player Doxson coming in second, and God Bless coming in third. Good game, everybody who participated. I hope that everybody had a ton of fun. Congratulations to those who made it all the way through, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.